Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., an alternative parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard.
Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today we have a guest from the Libertarian Party of Boston. His name is Jeremy, and he's going to tell us about all the exciting things he believes, all the exciting things he supports, and all the exciting things he does. So welcome to the podcast, Jeremy.
100%. Thank you for having me, Andrew. Yes. I'm really excited for the discussion, see where it goes.
Excellent. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. So, to me, liberty is the language of the oppressed. It is the language of the downtrodden, those who have, had their access to freedom restricted in any way, shape, or form, and are now trying to fight back for what they deserve. That is kind of like how I view liberty in the lens through which I view it, and it's why pretty much any member of my affiliate will tell you that I support them in whatever they want to do. I just hope, and I really, really encourage them pushing the message of liberty is compassion. Liberty means freedom for everyone, not just one, and really that's just it. From everything from homelessness advocacy all the way into, participating with state Senate redistricting. We're very diverse group of individuals.
Interesting. I have not heard the libertarian view expressed in that way, so that is a refreshing way to view it. So let's also talk about yourself. Kindly introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah. So I'm Jeremy Thompson. I believe I may be the youngest chair of any affiliate in the LP. I am 21. Born and raised Boston, and my affiliate serves the greater Boston area, specifically Suffolk County and neighboring neighborhoods, so the bordering neighborhoods. And essentially members in those bordering neighborhoods get to choose which affiliate they want to be a part of, because we are the most population-dense affiliate within Massachusetts.
So what do you do for, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, my apologies.
What do you do for your career or job?
Yeah, so I'm a finance guy. I go to Northeastern University. I study finance and accounting management. I run my own business called Little Liberty. Essentially what we do here is benefits consulting as well as individual financial education. And that's pretty much where I specialize. It's really about, teaching people about, how to manage their finances, how to get all that in order, because, that's really how we start applying, our economic philosophies into into everyday people's lives.
So it's called Little Liberty?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
So would you say that's a micro application of your libertarian philosophy?
I would say definitely. I wouldn't even say micro. I would say macro. It's pretty much
macro.
Everything that we do. Yeah. Like our colors are yellow and brown. Yellow kind of meaning liberty. Brown, because we serve and are based out of primarily a black and brown area. I myself am a black libertarian. But it's been kind of, some things have been kind of, tough within the movement lately. But no matter what, we got to weather the storm. But even then, it's just been an amazing ride. I also hail from Students for Liberty. If anybody who's listening knows what that is, it is the largest international libertarian student org.
So what made you get involved in the Libertarian Party in the first place? Was it a long time ago? Was it recent? What led you to the Libertarian Party?
Oh, yeah, it was pretty recent. It was definitely pretty recent. I want to say about 2019. I met Daniel Fishman at this thing called LibertyCon, hosted by Students for Liberty. And I told him I had aspirations of running for mayor of Boston one day. And I didn't know at the time that he was actually in Massachusetts serving on the board, the state committee for Massachusetts. And it was a really interesting connection that we made, because next year he became the executive director of the LP. And then, as many of you do know, he's now executive director of People for Liberty. But, Dan's just an amazing guy. He kind of got me more involved with the LP, and I officially joined the state committee, earlier this year, and I got my affiliate affiliated with the state committee this year as well. I had to revive the Boston chapter. So a lot of my involvement locally has just started this year, but I would say I've been involved in the LP overall for about 2 years.
Boston is one of the most popular cities, most well-known cities in the United States. So I'm not going to ask you to describe Boston in general terms. Some of the cities we talk about are places not everyone has heard of. But I will ask you this. What is Boston like from insider's view for somebody that lives there versus somebody that may not live there in the context of politics?
Yeah, so in the context of politics, if people are looking to figure out from a duopoly perspective, you're going to be hard pressed to do so. I mean, in Massachusetts alone, like Republican is a dirty word. It's kind of like one of those no-no words. So we see as a lot of right-wing Democrats actually. Outside of Boston, Boston has a little bit more left-leaning, more sort of socialist practices. But I would say like everyone's pretty much hungry for liberty out here. Maybe it might not look like economic liberty all the time. To what many folks would consider in our movement, but definitely social. I think people are definitely looking to just be themselves, be free, and live how they want to. And, it all depends on where you live, for what the message you have to promote out is. Sometimes certain things just matter more to different people. You really got to know your city. But yeah.
Sure. How about campuses? For those of us who have not been on a college campus for a while, last I was in school was 2004. We hear a lot of things about cancel culture and suppression of free speech from both left and right can oppose it and also support it. So kindly explain what you view the college campus scene like in the perspective of your efforts to do your libertarian politics.
I mean, for me, it hasn't been hostile at all for me. I can't really speak to any of my colleagues. I know some of my libertarian friends have expressed some of their views being suppressed in the classroom. I personally don't share that sentiment. I think that there's always a way to tailor a message. Sometimes and people come off a little abrasive with their message, but sometimes that's not always the right space and place. And I think that is like the main thing there. But as far as the culture of free speech, I think most people will look at Boston and say, hey, it's super socialist, super left-leaning, it's a complete expression of free speech, college campuses, yada, yada. But I think that's just an administrative problem. I think that at the end of the day, that is, an authoritarian issue, not necessarily left or right. Because even left-wing students are silenced, even especially black students on campuses, especially when we find ourselves in different classes. Where I remember having an Egyptian friend, and she was kind of like pushing back against the idea that Egyptians were supposed to be like called Arabs or were technically Arab or Middle Eastern. And she was silenced in the terms of like talent by her professor in terms of like bad grades because she was supposed to be like the minority who just went with the flow. But we don't always have that. I think that in general though, I haven't experienced for myself personally many issues with free speech.
Okay. So in the Boston area, what are the main political issues that the area is facing, and how is the Libertarian Party of Boston dealing with those issues?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. In the Boston area, what are the major political issues facing the city, and how is the Libertarian Party of Boston addressing those issues?
Definitely. I love this question. So the five biggest issues, we have COVID, as with the rest of the U.S. We also have specifically there's a lot of reinvigorated talk around reparations. That's a huge one as well. In the city, at least when we see in District 4 and 7. But as well as, methadone mild talks, homelessness and addiction, responses. There's so much that the city does wrong, and there's so many ways in which the city has contributed to those issues specifically. And I would say number 4, we're looking at the occupational licensing is another huge one that's been on the docket, as well as BPS reform. So, the elected school committee that we kind of just started, that we just voted for this year. And that speaks, I think, to Boston's blue or Boston's authoritarian nature, because originally the school committee was appointed by the man. So that was a huge development. When we talk about occupational licensing, a lot of people are restricted from just opening their own businesses because they don't have certain certifications, or they don't afford certain certifications, as many people may know. And it's almost an atrocity when a hairdresser has to go to school for more time than a police officer. It's really weird. And I would say at a sixth issue, gun rights. A lot of people are really hungry for their gun rights, especially in the middle of COVID, especially in the middle of just an uptick in violence, specifically in the black and brown areas of Boston.
In regard to homelessness, what would you say is a libertarian approach to homelessness? I understand some people would interpret the libertarian approach as homeless people are violating private property, so we need to remove them from private property. So how do you view homelessness?
Absolutely.
From a libertarian perspective?
Yeah, 100%. I really do hate that viewpoint because all you're doing is exacerbating the issue, right? And if we talk about, the market as a system of incentives, the best incentive for businesses is to collaborate to at least, compassionately deal with homelessness in a sustainable way. Because when people are crapping literally in front of the front of your lawn, just sending them back to prison and then going back to rehab and then back to that same shit that they just crapped in front of your business isn't helping you any, And so how do you create sustainable solutions without government interference that really help solve the issue? I think is the key to solving that problem. Because what we see from government is constant aggression. It's this law and order mentality, even among left-wing spaces. We had Rachel Rollins up here who wasn't prosecuting anybody, but that's also a poor response, as displayed by a lot of people whose homes have been, vandalized, by the homeless and addicted and mentally impaired communities. But I think the real libertarian solution is getting, actors with resources to see the value in helping, those members of their community. I think ultimately it comes on us as activists, as libertarians, and concerned citizens of our community to go out to businesses, get funding from them, and say, hey, present plans that we have to address these issues. For instance, we have an engagement center here in Boston that has absolutely no mental health resources there. It's not equipped with any mental health resources. The shelter right next to it is overflowing. And we actually have someone in our affiliate who works at the engagement center itself, and people are just ODing there, going there for clothes, maybe a little bit of food here and there, and then right back out to the street, where they are literally lined up in encampments in front of the engagement center. That helps nobody any. And what would actually be a more sustainable solution is reducing zoning, right? So that we could actually get tiny housing development built and having people see the value in that by, for instance, creating tiered systems that allow college students to live in, right? And then have subsidized housing for the homeless population, which then gives companies, a social impact report to report on, to the masses, and do a whole marketing campaign off of. There are clear-cut incentives here. I think if we just use the business principles we love to talk about so much of the community as libertarians, we can easily get these issues solved. I do think that a lot of people are more talk than they are action. That worries me in our movement. But I think the people who do good have a large impact, and really just do help their communities a ton. And I think we see that in a lot of different chairs with a lot of different affiliates.
All right. So what about reparations? What's your party's answer for reparations?
So our party actually has not taken a stance on reparations. However, my answer, personal take on reparations is that damages were incurred. I think that the payment is owed. I think that will be under any libertarian stance. Most people's argument would be, well, the government can't give out money, but I would also argue that if someone was harmed by the government, they would expect to receive damages, And when we look at clear-cut harms, I think that there's a clear case for reparations.
So how would the government, if it was in your situation, Boston, or in a grander scale, maybe state or national level, how would they distribute the reparations? How would the process be?
I actually wouldn't know too much on that. I couldn't speak on that. As far as reparations topics go, there are many more knowledgeable scholars. To me, just speaking on the principle of reparation, that was my last statement. But I actually wouldn't know too much on exactly how that would be delineated. I know different groups have different ideas, like the ADOS people, the African descendants of slavery, versus, for instance, a group like New Democracy Coalition. Different people are fighting for different fights. Some people are fighting for the international community's reparations in accordance with, the domestic black fight. Some people are fighting specifically for the domestic black fight with a tinge of xenophobia attached to it. So you never really know, what's going on there. So I just speak on the principle generally. As far as the specifics, not my ballpark.
Okay. So you said that you're the chair, right?
Yes.
Okay. What are the responsibilities of your role?
100%. So my role is specifically here to help preside over all meetings, of course, ensure that there's an agenda for every meeting, that kind of I set up the flow of every meeting. And then even aside from that, making sure that I assist my affiliate members however possible in their activism, be it, helping them, develop anti-mandate protests, getting out petition drives, setting up rallies, whatever I can really do to help people be active. My main responsibility as well is to help set up races to get people elected. Really just helping people enter the electoral space and influencing the political party.
Sounds good. So in regard to COVID, most of the libertarians that I've come across, and most of the ones we've interviewed on this podcast, if not all of them, are against the mandates and the lockdowns. How would you address the concern that some people would have? They would say that it would, in essence, by not doing that, by spreading the virus, by not wearing masks, you are going against the libertarian principle of non-aggression, because the viruses are deadly and they can kill people. So how would you address that?
I mean, many people do feel that way, and I think that it's important for us to hit that from compassion, because what is really being said there? The emotion behind that statement is, I'm scared that people will infect me. I am scared that people will risk my life, based on their lack of knowledge of their own health. And I would respond to that with this. One, I don't find that an adequate argument in the idea that, you need to find a way to protect yourself. There's things that will harm your life inherently in almost any community out there, and it's sad to say, but you really can't control the actions of another person regardless of what the law says. If a person's going to walk out with a mask, they're going to walk out with a mask. What's going to happen to a business? Like an inspector will come into business with the fault. When we talk about the mandate. So the mandates don't have the desired effect that most people want them to have. And so it's very important for us to be intentional about how we are going about, and ensuring public health. And I think the best way to ensure public health is, hey, if you're not comfortable with these people and you can afford to do so, stay home. You know what I mean? If you find yourself very much to be a vulnerable person, see what areas around you have, closed off hours, for people who are specifically vulnerable to COVID, whatever may have you. But what cannot happen is, essentially you telling people, hey, you need to wear this mask. You need to show me this. Well, actually, let me backtrack that. You cannot tell people you just want to wear this mask. I think that is where things get a little bit icky, especially with people being very wary of how COVID is being responded to by the government, especially with the lack of trust in government. It's very, very hard. So it's really just, I think it's a hapless fight, to be honest. I think as far as people who are pro-mandate are concerned. But yeah.
So what types of activities does the Boston area Libertarian Party do?
100%. Yes. So we've been doing some meetups lately. Originally, earlier in the year, we were doing homelessness advocacy in the sense of providing food to the homeless and addiction-affected people of methadone mile, drafting up statewide plans to help deal with homelessness and addiction, as well as local plans specifically. To kind of push out to local government. We've held rallies, connecting, both our local org and the state organization to over 40 plus organizations across Massachusetts. We've been kicking hard, despite a lot of the setbacks that we may have had throughout the year.
All right. So what is your affiliate's future plans?
100%. So me as chair, sitting in this current term, our first term as a reaffiliated chapter, for a reaffiliated affiliate. I can't speak too much, especially on like what's going to happen in like 2 years down the road. But what I want to see for my affiliate, at least, the goals that I would love to see my affiliate pursuing is getting some people elected. We kind of got this. We got the races set up. There are plenty of open seats. There are plenty of great places for us to have libertarians really just make a good step forward. And I don't want to talk so much about my affiliate. My affiliate members know what's available out there, and I want to keep it kind of on the low, just so anyone who's listening, there's nothing against anybody. It's just really important that we keep that information sensitive. I think that there's a lot of opportunity coming in 2022 to Boston Libertarian. It's beautiful to see. Actually at our last meetup, we sat down, had a few drinks, and really discussed about some of the opportunities open and about some of the people we may want to see run. And we may have a libertarian in Massachusetts State House. Who knows?
Oh my, that would be exciting.
Yeah, man, it would be insanity. I think it would be we've gotten one libertarian into city, Massachusetts City Council so far. The next step up would be mayor, but if we could skip the mayor seat and go straight up into State House seat, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, mayor is way harder than the State House seat, but at the same time, it's just so amazing.
What about you personally? What are your future plans? You're graduating from college in a year or two, right?
Yeah, about 2 years.
And are you you said you run a business, so are you going to run your business after do that in another career, or what do you see the future like?
Yeah, so one of my main goals is definitely to break into Ernst & Young and work in assurance and compliance, just teaching companies about how to better operate within the rules and regulations of their other countries, states, and even cities. But aside from that, I think I definitely want to just focus on growing my business. Once everything's kind of said and done here with the LP, I want to really just commit myself to my studies fully, and actually, develop my political career as a consultant. It's one of my favorite things to do. I find myself to be a very tuned in person, even when I don't want to be. So it's really cool. It's really helpful when you can help other people out and figure things out about their races.
Sure. So how can our audience support you and the Boston area Libertarian Party?
100%. Folks can support the Boston area Libertarian Party by simply just following our Facebook page, Great Boston Libertarian. We are the grayed out skyline of Boston. And yeah, give us a like, a follow, check out some of the stuff we posted. Stay tuned in with the work. And whenever, the more people we have, the more eyes we are paying attention to the stuff we do, the more people are paying attention, the better. That's just that. Yeah.
Sounds good. Jeremy, thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, my apologies. I just want to say as well, and if folks want to support me specifically, there is my fraternity, Omega Sci-Fi, is currently hosting a kids' toy drive to get kids who are in underserved communities some toys for the holiday season, before New Year's. So that is, again, Omega Sci-Fi, the Gamma chapter, and they're doing some amazing stuff over there.
So how would they support you for that? Is there a link or email or website? How do they support you for that?
So there is an Omega Sci-Fi Gamma chapter Instagram page. You can find that at, one second. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. So you could find them at Jesus. I'm having trouble finding their Instagram. It's bad.
Okay, how about this? If you want to give me their name again, the name of the fraternity, then I can maybe put that in the show notes, and then people can look that up on Instagram, and hopefully it'll come up. How's that
Yeah,
sound?
definitely. I could just shoot you a link and we can just go from there, yeah. But again, that is Omega Psi Phi, the Gamma chapter. Again, you can find them on Instagram actually at the Gamma chapter _Qs, QUES. Again, that is Gamma chapter _Qs, QUES. Go check them out. Amazing guys.
Sounds good. Jeremy, thank you kindly for coming on the podcast and sharing your views and what your party is doing.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
All the best to you in the Boston area Libertarian Party.
Thank you, Andrew.
Have a great day. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.